All I'm saying is they should have kissed. Welcome back, and once again, thank you for trusting me with your full spoiler movie reviews. That thing I do where I watch movies and then I tell you all about them. As always, I am unpaid and unsponsored. And spoilers, 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 all the spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, you can go ahead and scroll. I won't be offended. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Okay, here we go. I do, however, recommend not watching the spoilers, because this was that fucking good. But what if some people need it? This is the 2024 much anticipated Ridley Scott sequel, Gladiator 2. Which, like, if you didn't see Gladiator 1, Russell Crowe's a hot guy who's forced to be a gladiator and fight for Joaquin Phoenix, who's the Caesar, and he's sleeping with the Caesar's daughter, and some other stuff, but then he dies. So picture it, 16 years later, Paul Mescal and his wife live in North Africa. The Romans are coming by sea, and they're all army and shit, and they're getting ready to fight the fucking Romans. They said not to fucking dare. So as the ships are coming, they're launching fireballs at them, they're hitting them with arrows, but so are the Romans. One ship happens to have Pedro Pascal on it because he's a Roman general. Well, the Romans make it to land, and they're launching arrows, and one hits Paul Mescal's wife, and she dies. And he falls off a wall, and he's floating in the water, and it looks like he's gonna die too, because it's doing that weird afterlife thing like it did in the first one. And we watch her, you know, cross over, but then he wakes up and he washes up on shore, and he gets taken prisoner. Anyway, so they're on a boat, and then they get to Osiraya, whatever the name of it. It's like a port outside of Rome. And then they all have to stand in front of Denzel Washington, because Denzel Washington wants a gladiator for the fight, because he has plans. But it turns out that Paul Mescal happens to be a damn good fighter. And Denzel Washington was like, bet. Listen, you're gonna fight for me as a gladiator, and in return, if you do well, I'll let you pick anybody, and they'll die. But if you don't, I'll kill you. And Paul Mescal was like, fucking let's go. If I win, you gotta kill the general for me. Oh yeah, but right before that, there were the semifinals, and he had to fight like these weird baboon hellhound things. I think they were supposed to be baboons, but it kind of looked like a dog. Either way, I know it's the last thing you see before you die. And he bit it and growled at it. Anyways, after that, then we start doing the arena shit. He starts giving the other gladiators orders to get out of the way of this giant rhino, which the rhino doesn't seem to be that big of a problem, and then they have to start fighting themselves, and he wins. All the while, it turns out that the general is his stepdad. See, Paul Mescal happens to be Lucius Aurelius, who is the grandson of Marcus Aurelius, who was Joaquin Phoenix, and the son of his daughter and Maximus, who was Russell Crowe. See, what had happened was, after Maximus was killed, what's-her-face sent him to go live somewhere else in like another city, because he's like the sole heir to Rome. And he lived there for a while until some Roman soldiers caught up with him, and then he had to run away again, and that's how he ended up in North Africa. But also, while that's going on, so the general happens to be wanting to stage a coup, because he doesn't like the emperors that overtook Rome. So after Marcus Aurelius died, technically the throne should have gone to the lady. No, I'm sorry, the throne should have gone, I think, to Lucius. But then they thought Lucius was dead, so it should have gone to the lady. But she was overthrown by this pair of twins, who I think have like an iron deficiency. Like, picture the Weasley twins, but extremely ill. Well, anyways, all they do is cause hate and get discontent, and they light war for the sake of fucking war, and everybody's starving and everybody's angry. Okay, I'm not covering my eye anymore. I done poked myself and it hurt. Anyway, so him and his wife are staging a coup with some of the Senate. So that's going on. Now, Denzel Washington wanted a whole gladiator so that he could bet against his friend who was in the Senate. And he made so much, he really hustled him, and he made so much fucking money that the Senate guy now owed Denzel Washington his whole house and shit. And the Senate guy just happened to also be part of the coup, so he told Denzel Washington all about the coup, to which then he had Pedro Pascal and the lady arrested, and became like a big friend to the twin emperors. And somewhere in this, we're at stage 2, which involves filling the Colosseum floor thing with water and bringing in boats, and they have to reenact some kind of battle, and there's sharks in the water. People are getting hit with arrows. People are on fucking boats getting yeeted and eaten. Weirdly enough, I don't remember how that one ends. Fuck. Anyway, Well, now it's round 3, and round 3 is executing Pedro Pascal because he staged a coup against the emperors, right? They're gonna make Paul Mescal do it in a fight, but Paul Mescal refuses to kill him, so the guys along the walls, like, shooting arrows at him, and he dies. And frankly, they should have kissed at that point, and they didn't. And after all this, he has to sit in a jail cell. Now, prior to all that happening and his mom and Pedro Pascal getting taken prisoner, his mom visited him to tell him that she knew who he was and to give him a ring that belonged to Marcus Aurelius and then to Maximus. And I'm telling you that because while Lucius is sitting in the jail cell, he gives it to his friend who has the way out and has the keys. To take it to some kind of general that was out in the middle of a field and tell him who it came from, and they'll come running because he is the true crown prince of Rome. So while we're waiting on this army, all hell breaks loose. Because when Pedro Pascal was hit with the arrows, so meanwhile, while Pedro Pascal was dying, Lucius speaks to everybody in the Colosseum, and he's like, if this is what they will do to somebody who did so much for Rome, what do you think your life matters to them? And so it became a big mob, and they were angry in the streets, and that's why he ended up in the jail cell. I remember that. And then Denzel Washington, so like, he's getting into the emperor's ears, right? And he finds out that one of them has brain syphilis, and he goes to that one because he's very easily manipulated at this point, and tells him to kill the other emperor so that he can have the emperorship all to himself, and helps him do it. And then they address the Senate. Well, after the only living twin, like, leaves the room, he pulls a head out of a fucking bag. He's like, y'all gonna help me because I want to be in charge. Something to that effect. And they're like, ugly duckly. So then it's time for Lucius's mom to, like, get executed or whatever, and they got her on, like, this big parade float, and it kind of looks like Midsommar. Well, he's supposed to rescue her, but she got hit in the chest with an arrow, just like his wife, and that causes a whole ordeal. Meanwhile, fucking Denzel Washington comes up behind the other emperor and fucking stabs him in the ear with what looks like a nail and kills him. And now Lucius and Denzel Washington are running out of the city on horseback, but like over the fucking hill or whatever, that Roman army that he sent for, or that Lucius sent for, is coming over, and the army that Denzel Washington has is coming out of the city behind him, so it looks like it's gonna be a war. But Lucius is like, have we not had a fucking enough? Seriously, there's been too much fucking blood today. So then it's just him and Denzel fighting. And then, like, Lucius nearly drowns. And he cuts off Denzel Washington's arm and kills him. And then he gets to be the emperor. We don't get to see him be the emperor. He just, like, goes back into the Colosseum, grabs some stand. He's like, Dad, speak to me. And then he goes to the wheat field. And the end. Now, did I like it? Abso-fucking-lutely. It's like I said before, this is like Dead Man's Chest good in terms of sequels. I mean, it absolutely stands up to the original. Like, even the parts where all they're doing is talking is like I said before, prime time Game of Thrones. Like, when House Tyrell was taking over and all the cool shit was happening, this is pretty much right on par with that. And yes, I do believe it'll sweep in the Academy Awards this year. But also, as I said before, there are some really goofy looking CGI animals, such as the weird baboon hellhound. The sharks look pretty fake. But I guess this is just the fucking new normal that we have to expect when it comes to CGI. Like, nobody seems to want to make it any better, so I don't know if we just have to lower our standards or what. But also, it wasn't really important to the story anyway, so... Also, I gotta ask y'all a question, because I need to know if I was remembering it right or not. And this is about the first Gladiator. So I remember not being able to watch it when it first came out, or so I think. Because my grandmother said it was Russell Crowe standing naked in a doorway and his wiener was out. But when I watched the first Gladiator, there were no wieners. Not a single wiener. Now I'm kind of wondering if that was when 300 came out, but there were also no wieners in 300 either. It was just Gerard Butler's ass. Which I've seen a lot of ass, so I don't know why that one would have made a difference. Is there a movie that takes place in Rome that actually happened? Or was there like a different kind of Gladiator I didn't know about? I don't know. Either way, this is a solid 10 out of 10. Perfect movie for me. And I am absolutely ordering knee-high sandals. So 10 out of 10. Okay, bye. I don't know how to sing this song.